guys, I'm Eric with Posh Detailing. Welcome back to the Posh Lab. So this week we have a 2020 Ara Blue R8 in for full protection. Our normal vlog style is we would just start the process on the car without really explaining why we do it. So this is a new supercar owner. He's new to the detailing world, but new to the paint protection and coating world specifically. So exactly what we offer. He was kind of unsure about a lot of things, but obviously it's a part of new car ownership to protect these things that he wanted some information. I went to send him a few videos and I noticed in our collection of over 60 videos, I never properly really went through it and set reasons why we do it. We just constantly do it and we go over the cars in person, but we've never really showed it on video. So today we're gonna cover everything we can while this car is gonna be here for the next 4 days. Start off with inspecting the car. So the car just arrived about an hour ago. We didn't touch it. It's still dirty. It's a little dusty here and there. There's some scratch marks. Right now we're gonna cover everything. We're gonna turn off the lights and we're gonna inspect the paint head to toe. What we're looking for is blemishes, rock chips, swirls, holograms, anything that the dealer could have put on the car, anything the dealership could have done with the car, or anybody in public that could have touched the car or mishandled in any way. We're gonna completely take care of those things before we even think about wrapping it. So from here, after we inspected it, we're gonna measure the clear coat. So we're gonna inspect to see if anybody has done any cutting and polishing on the car, if there was any repairs done on the car, and then from there, we're gonna take measurements, cut and polish as needed, and then measure again to ensure there's sufficient clear coat left on the car for the next turnaround. So the goal with this is not to just cut and polish the car super hard and do it once. There's so many shops that recommend doing a full single stage polish on a brand new car. It's not always necessary. Most of the time it is, but it's not always necessary. So that's why we like to take our time here and really inspect the paint to see what it needs. So in doing so, we're gonna make sure it looks absolutely as perfect as it can, but we're ensuring that there's gonna be enough clear coat to do it in the next 5 to 10 years, or the next owner, or if this client decides to track this car and it gets beat up, we'll have to remove the film, we'll have to cut and polish it from the glue removal process, and then he can rewrap it and make it look brand new again. So it's a very important stage here. A lot of people skip the paint depth analysis, but it is a huge part of the process. So now we're going to move on to our second round of the foam bath stage. So initially, before we did any cutting and polishing, we did do a foam bath and hand wash on this car, but now this is the treatment to remove any residue from the cutting and polishing stage. So right now we're going to do a foam bath, a hand wash, and decontamination. The decontamination stage is a two-step process where we're going to remove any tar or iron that's embedded in the clear coat. We use an iron remover, we agitate it with a foam applicator, we let it sit, we foam it again, and then we feel the car with gloves on our hands to make sure there's no little tiny pieces, I'm talking micro pieces of tar on the car, because anything we miss will show up under the film and it'll leave a bump, and then you'll notice it as a blemish. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the next stage. Now that the car has been thoroughly prepped, it is ready to go for paint protection film, we're gonna begin the process of making the kits. So a lot of people think these kits just come online, we plot them, and then we throw them on the car and that's it. No, most of the time we're adjusting every single kit. We're taking measurements of all the body panels to ensure all the kits fit extremely tight to cover the most paint protection film as possible. Not just that, we ensure that all the edges that we can possibly wrap are wrapped. There's a lot of edges that you just can't wrap because they're just too close with body panels, and the process of doing that, we would have to start taking the car apart. With this R8, we're not going to be taking any of the panels off. The only things we're going to be removing on this car are actually going to be the emblems. The reason for that is the client didn't want to go as far as pulling the bumpers, and it's actually with this car, it's not quite necessary because you actually have a lot of access to wrap and lay the paint protection film for the most protection. Porsches in the past and a lot of GT cars with headlight surrounds and deep grills, it does work much better to remove those. But with this car, we found that it wasn't actually quite necessary to do so, and we're gonna get some incredible coverage. We design the kits, we extend the kits, we make sure they fit absolutely perfect in every way possible. So this whole process alone takes about a day to just measure all the panels, go on the computers, adjust it, extend them a little bit, We're talking a millimeter here, a millimeter there to make sure it absolutely fits perfectly. From there, we plot it, we load the film, and then we weed it so it's prepped and ready to go. And this is a question also that comes up that I should specify why we take off the emblems. When you don't take off the emblems, the computer will plot the film and you'll have a gap around all the rings, around the letters, and I'm talking on all makes and models that this happens. So removing those emblems makes it so we can have a flawless finish behind it, and it offers the full protection, and also you don't get the buildup around the emblems over time. You get dirt and dust, and it just doesn't look good, and it makes the paint protection film more noticeable. So that's why we remove the emblems and reinstall the emblems. And a lot of people are unsure, well, how are you going to make sure they're installed absolutely perfectly so the same as the dealer or same as the manufacturer? Well, unfortunately, most of the time the manufacturer is off a little bit with installing their own emblems. And what I mean is sometimes they're a little crooked, not necessarily the area they're in. That's pretty much bang on, but we've seen a lot of Porsche emblems, Ferrari emblems that are just crooked or decals that are off. So we actually take the time to ensure they're done absolutely perfect. You gotta remember, a lot of these cars are built in a factory where they're building hundreds of these cars. They're going through so many cars a day that most of the time people won't notice if it's off by, I'm talking a millimeter or two. So we just take the time to make sure it's absolutely perfect. From there, the final stage is the coating stage. So a lot of people ask me, well, why do I need to coat my car? Why do I need to wrap my car? Why should I do both? And why don't I do one or the other? So unfortunately, in the market as of today in 2020, the coating market is blown up bigger than I ever imagined. People are starting to coat their cars instead of wrap their cars in clear film. This is a huge no-no. This is like the worst thing you can do, and unfortunately a lot of dealerships will sell the coating. They'll get it done for dirt cheap, they'll do a poor job, and then they'll be like, well, I'm getting rock chips on my car. You are. Why? Because the coating does not protect from rock chips, scratches, wear and tear like the film will, right? So from there, the process is so much more difficult of removing the coating before we can actually put the film on. So this is why it's so important to really know and do a little information, a little digging on what to do. And what we recommend doing is having the dealership not touch the car whatsoever. Don't prep it, don't polish it. I always tell my clients, get them to wash it, they can dry it off, but no polishing. We want to see what the manufacturer left and why. We want to see the wear areas. We want to see the good and the bad of the whole process right from new. So from there, we always recommend wrapping your car over coating your car. Why? You're getting 10 years warranty, you're getting protection, you're going to protect from those rock chips, debris, people touching your car, surface scratching, and so on and so forth. The amount of benefits you have, and plus it makes it look incredible, right? And so now people are probably thinking, well, why even bother with coating? Well, coatings are incredible. It's like a super wax. That's the best way I can describe a coating from my experience over the past years, is it works like a super wax. You apply the coating, as long as you apply it properly, it'll last years. And then it helps with your maintenance, your care. It'll offer a deeper gloss, and then just the overall feel of the car will be quite nice. Just your day-to-day care will be unbelievably easy. So that's why we recommend the process of prepping the car, wrapping the car, and then coating the car is the final touch. We never try to skip those steps. We always talk to our clients first if they're really contemplating wrapping the whole car versus partial of the car. It really depends on how you're driving it, what you're driving it for. Is it a daily drive? Is it your new supercar? What you want to do. But overall, for long-term protection, wrapping your car and coating car is the absolute best. But I hope this video was very informative. Let's take a final look at this beautiful R8 that we spent the last 4 days on. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks.